Hi. In looking forward from how to move on and how to heal from being a scapegoat, this all comes from A Scapegoat No More Forever. This portion of the book is called Breaking Free. So here is where we really start to look at how do we begin to break free and move on from this role of scapegoat that we did not, sign up for, we did not ask for. In the book, this starts on page 32, and there's 4 big things we have to learn to let go of. And this is probably one of the most difficult parts. Letting go is incredibly hard. It's intimidating. It's scary. We're not really taught to let go. We're taught to be sent away. We're taught to be dismissed and to wait until we're dismissed. We're taught to chase, right? It's our job to sort of stick around, keep taking poor treatment. So the second we start thinking about letting go and moving forward, it's really not what we're supposed to do, and we don't really have a lot of skills to do it. And this is one thing that can definitely keep us stuck and frozen in this role of scapegoat. So if you look on page 32, if you have the book, if not, we're just going to go through these 4 and we're going to break them down. So the first one is you have to be willing to let go of those who don't value you. So it can be hard to know, how do I know if someone values me or not? Well, if someone values you, they're going to thank you for the good parts of you. They're going to respect the good parts of you. They are going to be grateful for the good parts of you. So when you talk, they're going to treat you like it matters. They're going to listen. They're going to take your advice. They are going to thank you for your hard work and for the things that you contribute. When someone devalues you, they override what you say and do. They can interrupt you. They can dismiss you. They ignore you, punish you, all those types of things. So someone who values you, they show you respect. And they do that by asking your opinion or respecting your opinion, listening to what it is you have to say, asking for help in certain ways because they can see, the value that you could bring. So it's very different when you start to live your life around more people who value you than don't, more than the ones that don't, right? It really makes your days a lot brighter, makes your days a lot easier. You tend to feel a lot better. You have more peace. So it's not that you're dependent on those people, but consistently being around someone who's devaluing you, right? It really starts to erode you as a person, even, from the inside out. Sometimes it can be from the outside in until you start to believe that you're nothing, that you're invisible, that you don't have anything to value. You don't have anything of worth to bring to the table. But when you start being around people who value you more than the ones that don't value you, you tend to build on those skills. You strengthen those skills. So that whole iron sharpens iron, that's a real thing. But if no one's sharpening you, and instead they're not allowing you to become more sharp, get better at your skills, then you just kind of dull out and we tend to waste the gifts that we have. So that's the first one, right? It would be being willing to let go of those that don't value you. Really hard, because how do you let go? So one great tool that we also have is the Relationship Trust Boundary Model. This is another book that's available on Amazon.com. The model teaches us that when someone breaks our trust, we actually move them up and we're not around them as much. So they get further from us emotionally and physically. So if you're having a really hard time understanding what does it mean exactly to start to let go of someone who doesn't value you or who consistently devalues you, maybe check out the Relationship Trust Boundary Model. There's also some videos for it here on YouTube. But the model really helps kind of paint it in our brain and our mind. Oh, this is what it means to begin to move away someone. This is how I start to let someone go who's not being safe for me, someone who I can't really trust. Okay, so that was the first one. The second one is being willing to let go of someone who refuses to stop punishing you, or someone who expects you to sign up for punishment. So punishment is when you're treated bad as though you've done something wrong, and now you're being handed down this consequence because you're such a bad person, right? So when someone expects you or keeps doling out punishment, right? So let's say that I have a member of my family who believes I've done something wrong, whether I actually did something wrong or not. And so now they start to hate on me. They may scream at me. They may ignore me, ice me out. They may say bad things to me, take privileges from me, whatever that looks like. Maybe I'm not invited to a certain event, right? Or I'm left out intentionally for different, different reasons as a form of punishment. So really what we're saying is someone who thinks it's their job to control you and to hand down a punishment as a consequence, we have to also see those people as less safe. And again, going back to this model, learning how to sort of back up and have some emotional and some physical space from them. Because someone, when they're punishing you, what they're really doing is getting you back in line, and they're getting you under their thumb. And this is going to keep you in that role of scapegoat. That's not your job, right? So someone who's trying to hand you punishment, every bell whistle alarm needs to be going off like, oh, wait, you're not trying to have a conversation with me. You're not trying to bring an issue up with me. We're not trying to talk and reconcile or have an understanding between us, right? You're just trying to punish me, and you're acting like it's my job to sit here and just take it. Like, that's going to pique my alarms and realize, oh, okay, I am familiar with this and I'm kind of done with this, right? I'll talk to you all day long, but for you just to think you're going to come and hand me some sort of punishment and treat me poorly as a form of a punishment, I'm not down with that. I am not feeling that. So I would probably move them further up in my model. And that will make more sense if you learn the model. Very, very helpful. Very great model. Okay. So not only for them to punish you, but let's say there's two other people involved and one person wants to punish you and you're like, nope, I am not taking that. I am not accepting punishment. Like, you can ignore someone else or, scream at someone else. That's not my job or my role anymore. So I'm going to go over here. But then that second person comes and tries to guilt you into going back to this person for more punishment. So even the person who's putting pressure on you to accept punishment, even though they're not the one handing the punishment, also give that person less trust. Systems tend to work in systems, right? So the individuals that are part of the system get sent out to keep like that system machine rolling. So just because they're not the one handing out punishment, if they can't see and support you, if they can't see how that's bad for you and give you support and getting away from it, it's also someone that needs to grow a bit, right? And so I got to be around you a bit less too, until I'm certain that your advice is actually trying to help me, not just give you credit within the system. I'm not here to get you credit in the system by getting me back into the fold and to control, right? So therefore, I'm going to stay away from both parties and anyone else who keeps expecting me to accept punishment. So if you want to assign punishment to me or demand that I keep accepting it from someone else, I'm going to back way up, right? Move you way further up the model, and I'm going to have more time to myself or with other people who are supportive and who value me, right? Okay, so that was number 2. So number 3 is be willing to let go of those who keep painting you as the bad guy, right? So someone who keeps on trying to say that you're so bad and you're not good and all the ways that you're, just a terrible person and just a waste and all the things that you've done, right? Just constantly. And a lot of times it is lies. A lot of times when you're the scapegoat, it is someone else's perspective that is not actually the truth, or someone has to take bits and pieces of the truth and really blow those up in order to maintain you as the villain. And so when that happens, if someone refuses to stop painting you as the bad one, the bad guy, then again, we got to move them up the model, spend less time with them emotionally, less time with them physically, because really, that person is not safe for you. That's not helping you. What purpose is that serving for us to just be painted as this bad person, devalued, and then punished? Just because someone wants all the power, someone wants all the control. That's really oftentimes what's happening to a scapegoat, is that someone is wanting more of the power, more of the control. And so they're doing that by exercising that right over you. And they use punishment, smear campaigns, and devaluing you to do it, to keep you in that role. So if you want to break free, you have to learn to identify these things and then create some space and some distance. But it's really hard because a lot of times we're manipulated into believing the system is the most important thing. So how can I really leave the most important thing, right? It's very, very difficult. It's not something that I take lightly or have written about lightly or talk about lightly or have experienced lightly. It's really heavy stuff because a lot of times you're not just walking away from an individual, you're leaving a lot. Sometimes you're leaving everything. It's a complete do-over. a complete start over, and sometimes it has to be, and that's a huge decision to make. So this would be something that you do when you feel the time is right. And as always, you have to use your own judgment. I can't tell you who to keep in your life and who to walk away from, but in knowing these terms and knowing this vocabulary and understanding what is safe and what is healthy for you, hopefully that gives you some tools for you to be able to make that decision for yourself, because ultimately we all have to make the decision for ourselves, right? Okay, so number 4, be willing to let go of anyone that expects you to condone abuse. So sometimes we don't really understand what abuse is, just like we don't really understand what punishment is, which is why it's so important that you keep educating yourselves. But if we're looking at abuse, anyone who is abusive towards us, right, or the people that we love, if someone expects you to not speak out against abuse, to be okay with abuse, to turn a blind eye to abuse, right? Any of those types of things, which are very much commonly exercised when you're dealing with a scapegoat or being scapegoated, anytime you're dealing with that, it has to be a line in the sand. At least for me, that's a very hard line in the sand. You know, I will put up with a lot, I'll talk about a lot, but as soon as we get that that line of abuse, that's a deal breaker, right? That's just a flat out no. So anyone, it's kind of like the punishment one, anyone who expects you to accept abuse or condone it, meaning stand idly by while it's happening, that's someone that's going to be attached to that role of scapegoat for you. So you'd really have to give a hard thought as to whether they're safe for you or not. If they're expecting you to condone abuse, I would say not safe, not healthy. So those are some more decisions that you would have to be willing to make. So those are really hard. And then the steps that you take to be able to get that person further from you emotionally and physically, you can find some help with this tool, the Relationship Trust Boundary Model. And again, that is available on Amazon.com, because it's one thing to realize, oh, okay, I need to back up emotionally and physically, but it's kind of hard to know, well, but what does that look like? How do I do that, right? So that's where having a model like this one comes in really handy, because it really breaks it down and maps it out for you so that there's no guilt. I had one person tell me after she learned about the Relationship Trust Boundary Model, it took all the guilt out of setting her boundaries, that she could just lay the boundaries down. She felt great about it because she understood trust, what's broken trust, and how to share with someone who has broken your trust in a way that keeps you safe and them safe and keeps everybody healthy. So that's a great tool and a resource. Again, if you like this information and you want more, you can get it from A Scapegoat No More Forever. You can find it on Amazon.com. I'll also put a link in the description below. Take good care, and I'll see you in the next one.